A big mabuhay around the world, and welcome back to All Things Filipino. I hope everyone is doing great out there, even though in the Philippines, things are still kind of locked down in central Luzon. So our prayers and thoughts and all of our support goes out to everyone in the Philippines that's having a rough time, a hard time, and especially my friends and family in central Luzon. At the same time, I know there's lots of expats out there that are really trying to get back to the Philippines, and I know the requirements that you can't get back in there. Even for someone who's married to a Filipina or a Filipino, it's hard to get back in there. I think you have to travel, with them in order to get back into the country and then undergo full quarantine and pay for the quarantine. So it's very difficult. So I know that if you've established a relationship in the Philippines, I know some people have been trying to get back there to meet for the first time or the second or third time, and things have all been put on the back burner. Things have all been on hold. And I can just imagine what it's like to try to get a fiancé visa or a marriage visa. It just must be a nightmare, with the U.S. government and getting the documents and processing and all that stuff. But for those of you right now that haven't met a Filipina yet, there's hope. Basically, right now, people are looking for love. People are looking for a connection on every side of the planet. In America, Europe, in the Philippines, people are looking for something right now. So that's the one benefit you have. And a lot of them, unfortunately, could be the U.S., it could be the Philippines. You may be out of work. You have a lot of time on your hands. And so you might have the time to reach out to meet someone, as well as those people in the Philippines, Filipinas, they may be out of work. They may be looking for someone. It's a lonely time. And so maybe out of all this unfortunate chaos and death and all these bad things, maybe love can come out of it. And remember what the Beatles said, all you need is love. And that's what we're looking for in life, is someone to love us, right? But you got to be careful, okay? Right now, at the height of COVID, scamming is really big. People don't have money. That doesn't give them an excuse, but they're scamming out there. Not just foreigners, but also people that are Filipinos. And so the scamming is at an all-time high in everything you can imagine that's going on. And so you got to be careful. You got to be really careful. But at the same time, you need to believe. It's a tough one, isn't it? On one hand, you got to believe. On the other hand, you got to be cautious. It's really tough. I've been there, and my wife's been there. People that we know have been there. And, there's always doubts in your head. There's always doubts. Can I trust that person? And they're going to be there no matter what happens. Eventually, you have to trust that person if your relationship is going to work, if it's going to blossom into a marriage. But that doesn't mean that you freely give away all your money and you freely trust everyone. It's like any other relationship. Relationship is built on trust, but it's also built on people doing what's right, doing what they're supposed to do. Being honest and sincere and loyal at the same time. And the internet has brought us closer together, but it's also pushed us further apart. And it's also made it hard to trust people, but at the same time, make a connection with someone that you feel is a real connection, and it may not be. You don't know how many people this Filipina is talking to. You don't know how sincere she is. You don't know if she's a scammer. You don't know. And on the other hand, Filipina's got to wonder, is he a scammer? Is he telling me everything about himself? So what do you do? What do you do? And if you look at some of these online headlines, And this is before COVID. And this is a really good article. I think it's from the Inquirer, Philippine Inquirer. And it talks about this online dating scams that have been going on. And I heard about them when I was in the Philippines before I came back, where men were giving like $15,000, $20,000. And, you know, they hardly even met the Filipina. They might have met her once or twice or go back once a year. And it then turns out they stole all their money. They may even be married. They may have multiple online dating partners. And some of them even had intimate relations when the foreigner came. Then they left and they collected the money. And some of this has been exposed on the Action Man channel. You know, for those of you that know who he is, and I know in the Philippines I know who he is, but in America he's kind of like a guy that goes out there and helps people and hunts down criminals and scammers and something like that. And if you look at this article, basically what's going on, and I wanted to go over this really quickly, is that in many cases, the police don't know where to track these people down. That's number one. Number two, some of the men continue to send money after they know they're scammed because they're just so in love. They so desperately want to have that connection. And it's just unfortunate. And the hunting ground, though, happens to be Facebook. That's what the police are saying, the Filipino police. And so, you know, if I were looking for a Filipina, and I went over this in the last talk, I would really go to a website. I would really go to, I think there's a free Catholic or Christian dating website. And that's where I would go, you know. Or I'd go to a traditional website and search for the Philippines. There may be a few girls there that are looking for a husband. Because if they put out money for the dating website, it means they're serious. It doesn't mean they're not a scammer, but it may mean that they're they're sort of sincere in what they're trying to do. Because spending even $20 for a lot of Filipinos, especially now, is really tough. Even on normal circumstances, like now, I think a dating website's like $50 a month. They don't got money for that, you know. But those that might borrow to do it, they're really sincere, you know. How do you detect a scammer? And this is what the police were going over. And you can take a look at this article. I'll make a link or something. And the first thing you notice, it might be a bad connection, or their faces might be dimmed. They may even ask for money for internet or a light or something like that. The second step is, you know, that they may not have time to talk to you all the time. They may have unfortunate things occurring that they need money for. They may not mention this stuff for a while because they want you to bond with them. But the thing is that if they're scamming a lot of people, they're not going to have time to talk to you all the time. And so that is really, you know, the key there. You can feel it. Like if you feel like they're occupied, they're distracted, and they're not really, you know, texting all the time or talking to you all the time, it kind of means they may have something else going on. Now, it may just be another guy they've met. That's fine. But it may be something a little more sinister that's going on. So you have to be careful. Now, personally, me, I was not just looking, you know, when I first started dating on the internet, I was looking for, you know, it wasn't just Filipinas, it was anybody that really wanted to meet and was interested in marriage. But I quickly found out that Filipinas were really interested in getting married. And they didn't want to waste their time. And I let them know that. And then you should tell them too. I'm interested in getting married. If they're a scammer, when you say you want to get married and you want to get it done, you know, within a year, you're going to go there. Now with COVID, it's a little bit different. But if you're serious, they may not want to get involved with you because they just want to milk the money out of you. So they're playing the long game. They don't want to distract you and keep it going. But if you say, I'm going to get married, let's get this going. Hey, let's meet and talk online frequently. Let's get to know each other. You know, it may shut down. You know, they may request some gifts, this, that, and the other. And I can say this honestly, with all the Filipinas I met, not one of them asked for anything. Not one thing. Nothing. They were all very nice girls. They were very respectful, very polite, and that's what they appreciate in return. If someone is not that respectful and moving too quickly, you can bet that they're a scammer. If they're asking for something, they're a scammer. And even though it's a third world country, it's very difficult to live in, and things may be going very badly for them, you're under no obligation to send anything. You don't have to feel guilty. You don't have to feel anything. You know? And it kind of puts the relationship on a bad start if you're sending money. You don't even know this person. My wife never asked for anything. I even helped try to pay for some dental work when I got there, and she said no. Not until we're engaged, not until everything. I don't want your money. And so even though they have difficult circumstances, the honest Filipina will not ask for money until they're engaged, until they're married, until, you have a relationship. They're not just going to ask for money if they don't know you. They shouldn't be doing that. And they know that. Okay? I mean, it's not like they're going to, turn it down if you insist, but, many of the honest Filipinas, they won't do that because they don't want to be considered a bad person. They don't want to be considered like they're stealing or anything like that. The Filipinos have a lot of integrity and honor. And so a real honest Filipino, they're not going to take money. They won't feel right about it. Okay? So, we have other articles just to go quickly through this. And this is from Rappler, which is an important newspaper in the Philippines, one of the main ones. And this happens to be the other side of the equation, where it's a Filipina who was deserted at the airport. The guy never showed up. And I remember this happening because my wife told me about this. And so to make a long story short, what happened, I was delayed in the airport. Seriously. Because pre-COVID, when people flew to the Philippines, the Filipinos always bring back lots of boxes of stuff. And so I guess my bags got stuck on the bottom of the plane or whatever they were. And I was waiting there forever. And three-fourths of the plane was gone, and I'm sitting there waiting for my bags. And I don't know how many people left the old Nino Aquino airport there. And I'm sitting there. And then, of course, I changed my shirt. I looked terrible, and I'm like, oh, man. And I went to the bathroom. And meanwhile, and the entire time, my future wife is waiting for me. And I didn't come out. And it was taking a lot of time. And so you see in this article, she was on this site called OkCupid, and he sent a booking, but he never showed up. And this happens. And so what happened with me and my wife is that I got delayed, and then my cell phone wouldn't work. I bought a special cell phone because then, international phones really didn't work in the Philippines without a SIM card. And so I didn't know. I got a special phone, and it didn't work until after I left the airport. It connected to the network. But when I was in the airport, I was trying to call her, and I was like, should I leave the airport? Because, I haven't been to the Philippines. I go outside. What's going to happen? And I was just so kind of nervous. Leave, don't go, don't go. I couldn't call her. And she's out there thinking she's been scammed, and she's got her whole family with her, and she's so scared of being embarrassed. And so this happens where the American or the foreigner doesn't show up. So there's scamming that goes on both sides, that happens, unfortunately. But this is another sort of CNN kind of thing going on here. And this actually happens to be an OFW that was a Filipino that was sending money to a Filipina. And she stole 600,000 pesos. That's like, I don't know, like $15,000 or something like that. And he'd been sending money, he'd been working abroad, and he got scammed by a Filipina. So, I mean, this stuff, with online dating and scamming and all this stuff, it happens to everybody. The foreigners, the Filipinos, and scamming is there. Especially since, living in the Philippines is tough. There's not a lot of jobs. And I'm not saying it's an excuse, but people are out there to be scammers. They're looking to get money. And you have to be careful. But I'm just going to say, by and large, and I said all the Filipinas I met online, the ones that are middle-aged, the ones that were younger, of course, this is quite a while ago. I don't know about now. This was before Facebook. I mean, this was when the internet was there, but before Facebook got really big. They were all completely honest. They were all very sincere. They were all very nice. And the one girl that I met, unfortunately, and I was talking to her a lot, she got scammed by someone who was investing money for her and her mother, and she lost everything. And she stopped talking to me because she had lost all her money. She was upset. And eventually, like months later, she texted, she instant messaged me, and she said, how are things going? Are you still looking? I said, no, I found someone. You were going to be married. And you know what she said? She was such a beautiful, nice woman that she said, I'm so happy for you. Good luck. God bless you. Good luck. And I was just blown away by that. Here is a girl that lost all her money and everything like that. She didn't ask for money. She just wished me the best. And what a great person. And that's why, a lot of foreigners want to marry a Filipina, the right Filipina, because of the heart that they have. Not just for their family, but for others. They care. And this is the kind of woman that you want to marry and the kind of person you want to raise your children. And this is why Filipinos are known around the world for being great wives and mothers. And I encourage you, of course, be careful. If a woman's asking for money, she's not spending a lot of time with you, it's a very bad sign. And you can't build up somebody in your head into being your fiance if you don't know them. A lot of people get something in their head. And I remember I was watching 90 Day Fiancé, and I don't mean to make fun of this guy, but he'd been trying to meet this girl for 5 years and she never met him. Then she met him, then she disappeared again. And he had sent money and gifts and everything else. No, she loves me, she loves me. This happens, of course, with people that fall in love in real life. They just give their money away and everything else. But you can't build up an illusion of someone that doesn't exist. Of course, you want someone to love you, but you have to be realistic. And so, if someone's asking for money and you don't know them, then no. If you want to send them flowers, which I did, you want to send small gifts on holidays and things like that, they're accepted. That's fine. But sending money for things without having even met them, or when you first meet them, they need money to pay their rent or electric bill or something like that, I would be a little cautious about that. Unless you feel things are going right and it's not too much. And that's when you really have to tell the person, I don't really have a lot of money, this is all I can afford, and that's about it. Because, in the Philippines, a lot of foreigners get upset and they think like the girl's family's scamming them and everything else. And, in their minds, as a foreigner, you have everything. You are a king. And it's not right for them to think like that, but they do. Because in their world, they have very little opportunity. Money is very hard to come by. And so they think that you have everything. And, in the Western world, we are lucky. Even though we have to work hard, we're very lucky that most of the money we can keep. We can have houses and cars and things like that. I'm not saying it's easy, but those opportunities are there. And that's why you have a lot of Filipinos that want to leave the Philippines. So, you just have to be honest with them and say, listen, I don't mind buying dinner. If you really get to know them, you feel a connection with them. I can buy dinner. Hey, I can send $50 to pay for the internet, you know. Or another way of sending money to help, but don't send a lot, is for holidays, for small gifts, things like that. The other thing is you can send food. You get a Bellic buy-on box. For those of you who don't know that, you know, there's Filipino places, across the U.S. and Europe. You get a care package and you send food. You know, small amounts, you know, if you want. If you really feel a connection. I'm not saying you should, but if you feel like you want to do something and you feel like maybe you've made 1 or 2 trips or something like that, then that's what I would do, you know, if you felt like that. But there's no obligation to do that. But I know, you know, there's this, you know, threat. They're only coming for the green card. They're only coming for the money. They're only doing this. And I can say honestly, I think most Filipinos just want to have a happy life. That doesn't mean everyone. It doesn't mean there aren't scammers out there. I think there are more scammers now than ever. But I think there's a lot of good people out there too. And the culture of the Philippines, especially for the people that don't have a lot of money, they're hardworking, God-fearing people. And the women really want to have a good life. And for many of them, the reason you're wondering like why they're looking for foreign spouses, it isn't just for the money. Because they can't really find a lot of good husbands in the Philippines. It's hard for a college graduate in the Philippines because you're not that many college graduate men for them. If they don't get the guy right after college, it's going to be tough for them. And for them to marry someone who's not a college graduate is humiliating for them. It's like a step below for them and their reputation. So they're not going to do that. That's why they're looking abroad. That's why they're looking for foreigners. And a lot of foreign men around the world, because it's very difficult to have a relationship, are looking for a traditional wife and mother and a person that believes really in the institution of marriage, that they're going to be with you through the thick and thin, for better or for worse. But you gotta go through the process, and you have to be careful of scammers, even after you meet somebody. You have to really be honest and direct and say, "Are you talking to other men? I mean, that's okay, but you know, I'm really serious about you. I would think that we can go steady now," or something like that. Ask for a commitment back to test them, to see if they're really serious. Some girls aren't. They'll just take the money and whatever. I saw this other girl in a YouTube video. She's like, yeah, he paid for my school and blah, blah, blah. Then he came and started getting controlling. And I was like, whatever. I was like, whoa, okay. But that's because he didn't make it clear. You know, hey, let's get engaged. Let's make this serious. And if they're not serious, they're not going to do it. They're not going to do it. And so you have to be serious with them and see if they're going to be serious with you. That this is a relationship where you're going to get married, we're moving ahead, that, you know, let's do this thing. But like I said, there are lots of scammers out there. Facebook, man, I don't know about Facebook, okay? I would go and do the traditional websites, or find, like I said in my last video, find the Filipino restaurant, find the Filipino store, try to network locally where you live. You can find Filipinos. They're everywhere. It's amazing. But like everything else, you got to be cautious. You know? And so you have to take your time and don't feel obligated to give money at all. And that's the other test. If you don't give money, are they still talking to you? You'll know very quickly. You'll feel it. You know? And if you say no, if they're still talking to you. And what I would say if they ask for money, say, no, I'm sorry, but, you know, I'm serious about you, but no, I can't give any money. I really don't know you that well. You know, perhaps after we meet, perhaps you do this. You know, that's what I would do. So, but it's a bad sign. And I would probably be very cautious with that. But you can feel it. And especially if you can notice pictures on other websites and other places and things like that. So, be careful of the scammers, especially now. But I think it's also a great opportunity to meet a wonderful Filipina. They're looking for love too, as you are. And, you can be honest with them too. Say, I know there's a lot of scammers out there. I just got to be cautious. And say, I know you got to be cautious with me too. I know there's a lot of men that don't show up. And just say, let's see if something happens. Let's just be honest. And take it from there. And it will work out if it's meant to work out. And you got plenty of time before this COVID thing is lifted, let me tell you. I don't think people are going to be going back to the Philippines for at least a year. That's my opinion. And it's going to, even at that, it's going to be tough. So you're looking to at least Christmas or beyond. And that's plenty of time to develop a relationship. And if it's going well, you'll know. And in the next video, I'll let you know when you know. I'll see you later. Take care. Bye-bye.